What is up, my nerds, and welcome back to another episode of The Nerdy Mind. Jason is here with me again. He is an honorary guest, as always,
Oh yeah.
on the
Oh yeah.
podcast. Jason, when we were on the podcast last time, we were talking about a few things. I had a few things on the criteria, and there's one thing that I didn't hit that I think is probably near and dear to both of us. Is Skyrim. Elder Scrolls is probably the last one I played, and it's
Mhm.
been a long time since Skyrim has another adaptation. And apparently, Skyrim Elder Scrolls 6 is still rumored to be like at least 5 years away from even being released.
Yeah,
Like,
it's an unfortunate situation, but doesn't really surprise me. Just the way things have gone with like GTA and stuff like that. Just like
yeah,
they hit the mark with Skyrim. People really liked it, and I guess they probably were working on Fallout and a lot of other things, and so Bethesda was kind of like, it'd be great to start working on another one, but there's a lot going on, and so then they kind of like reskinned Skyrim. They made like a more enhanced graphics. They made like a VR one. They made it on all the
hmm
platforms, and I'm sure all of those things were probably projects in and of themselves, but it's doesn't compare nearly probably to making an entire new game, and so they just kind of went that route for now, and
yeah,
that's kind of pushed things back for a really long time. But I really have enjoyed the Elder Scrolls games. Played Oblivion back on the Xbox 360. That was really probably when I got into it and really
hmm
enjoyed that. But Skyrim was great, and I hate to say that. I'll boycott them because it's taken forever to release a new game. But as soon as the next game drops, I'm gonna buy it. I know it.
yeah. And I guess it's always this catch-22 thing. Like, people complain about it's taking so long for like a game like this, especially a big name like this, to be released. But honestly, if it's going to be this long of a wait and it's going to be a great game, then take as much time as you really need.
Yeah,
As long as when it's released, it's fully done. We have the full game, and it's crisp and looks great storyline and
right,
everything.
right.
Then it's
You
whatever.
also have to realize, I mean, the next generation of gaming consoles came out. By that time, there might be even more advanced technology that they might have to work with too, that they might implement. But better graphics, and again, they really did hit the mark with Skyrim. And if their team is basically looking at their successes and grafting that onto the next game, hopefully the next game would be even better. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I hope so too. I mean, that's the same thing for like GTA. I mean,
Hmm.
GTA 5 has been around since PS4, Xbox One, I guess,
I want to
or
say
360.
it might have been 360. Um,
Okay.
I have no idea. I remember seeing some kind of meme where it was like, "You mean to tell me this game has been around for as long as these games?" And it was like GTA 5 compared to like three of the other GTA games, and it's like the one game has been out with nothing else after it, as long as like three or four of the other games. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunate, but I mean, again, it's GTA 5 was a great game that was a big success for them and had a lot to do, and so it kind of makes sense that once you make a really successful game, you might not want to immediately just publish the next one because
Yeah.
people
I
are
mean,
still you know
that's kind of like I mean, it's still getting like remakes for like the new consoles. Because people still play this game.
oh yeah.
It was ahead of its time from when it was first made. And apparently there's a lot of not rumors, but like I guess leak videos. I don't know if it's true, like trailers of GTA 6, but I've been fooled a couple times where people are like, "Hey, this is the new trailer for GTA 6," and then it's like some like clipped video all together of different things
one
and
of
stuff like this.
one of
So
one of the big long running teasers and kind of just jokes in the PC gaming community is, I don't know if you ever played Half-Life, but
I never have that.
Half-Life 1 was great. A lot of people loved it. Valve came out with Half-Life 2. People really loved that. I think they came out with a little bit of like DLC or like add-on content,
Hmm
but then they're like, "Oh yeah, Half-Life 3 is in the works." And then it was like years and years, and everyone's like, where's Half-Life 3? Oh, we're working on it, we're we're thinking about bringing that about, and it just like for like I don't even know, like a decade or so, it was just like nothing. And then they're like, we're working on the next Half-Life game, and then like VR came out with Half-Life Alex, and it was like great game. I can replay that game all the time. One
Right.
of my hands down favorite VR games of all time. But it's not Half-Life 3. And people are still like, where's Half-Life 3? You know, it's just,
Mm-hmm.
haha, tricked you. And it's just a long running,
Yeah.
like, waiting and waiting and waiting. And so, like,
Yeah.
GTA 5 and stuff like that, some of the PC gamers will be like, psh, you've only been waiting how long? You know, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I
so
mean,
it's upsetting, though, regardless, you know,
yeah.
whatever
I
game
mean,
it
that's like
is.
when Square Enix didn't make Kingdom Hearts 3 for like almost decade, like
Yep.
probably more than a decade, like a decade and a
Yeah.
half.
Yeah.
And people were like begging for Kingdom Hearts 3, and then it
Yeah.
finally came out, and people were like losing their minds.
Yeah.
I think it's just sometimes like, you know, things just get put on the back burners. Like,
And I'm
yeah,
sure a lot of these game development companies, they're probably working on so many different like
yeah,
franchises even within them, and different games, and like you don't realize how much work goes into making a video game. It's not just planning out the plot and like animating it or something. Like you have to flush out everything. You got all these coders, you got all these graphic designers. There's so many teams in different countries and stuff that like just being like, hey, also put this game into development is probably either just financially not doable or like just
yeah,
manpower. It's like not possible to have too many things at once. So like, yeah, of course you're like, I want them to just come out with Kingdom Hearts 3, but like, you
yeah,
know, they're probably planning on it, but it's probably taking a while, and you know,
yeah,
excuses. Give me my damn
yeah.
game.
And 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 the one thing I don't know if you watched a lot of E3 when like because E3 was like the big thing when
Mm-hmm.
for like announcements
Yeah.
and especially like everyone it was almost like the award show for like new trailers or new
Right.
games
Yeah.
being produced, and we didn't get that this year.
Mm-hmm.
COVID kind of messed things up for E3, and there is rumors. I don't think it's fully true yet, but 2024 and 2025 we may not have E3 again. So I don't know what's going on. I hope that it's not true because E3 is a pretty big convention for a lot of
Yeah.
these game developers. I
I'm
think I said it good.
I was gonna say, I mean, like at the very least, you'd imagine they'd kind of, you know, if they're not planning to do the traditional E3, if they try to do some sort of modified online, you know,
Yeah.
kind of like streaming event where like some of the companies are in a physical location doing some stuff, but
Hmm.
mostly it's just no attendance or something, you know, it would be ideal. But yeah, 2 more years of no E3 would be a little difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, I see this bandit in the background just
My
chilling.
dog just chilling.
Um, um, yeah, I think I read somewhere about for this year that like a lot of these, maybe E3 is kind of falling apart because maybe a lot of these companies decided that they don't really need to go to these conventions anymore to r- show their new releases or anything. They can have their own network or streaming platform
Yeah.
to like kind of show off their stuff to kind of maybe save money in that
Hmm.
aspect.
Yeah.
You know, that's I guess that's the way I look at it.
I mean, and it's one of those things where like it could in theory could benefit the companies, you know, slightly to maybe put less money into, you know, the whole big show and whatnot. But I do feel like there's just kind of an inherent like draw when you have like a convention and a whole bunch of people are coming to see these new announcements. There's a whole bunch of hype. You get a lot more, you know, focus and attention on your new releases coming out and stuff. So like
Yeah.
it is just one of those things where yes, you know, they might change this going forward. They might cancel it. They might have it. Who knows? But like, I think it's such a good source of like information for like the next games and big things to look forward
Yeah.
to that everyone's just gotten so accustomed to that they probably should do something, even
Yeah,
if it's
it's
not
just
the
tradition.
traditional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's just tradition now that like we expect E3 to be like the thing for us to get the announcements. And me showing my age, I mean, I've seen E3 for like 2 decades, like almost 2.5 decades now. So it's weird not having that the ability to see and like watching it and anticipating the new panels of Sony, Xbox, and Nintendo, and or I mean Microsoft, not Xbox, but it's just weird. And I kind of like now I just read articles on IGN or Polygon to see what's new coming up, and it's not the same to me. Be
No,
honest.
it's not, because I mean, there is the room for bad things to happen with E3, because I remember like Cyberpunk 2077, there was like different games that like the first look at the game and people were seeing like this video and it was like, whoa, like this is so cool, and then like the game comes out and it's like, that's not what you guys showed. And like sometimes
Yeah,
they build up the hype too much and they're like, oh no, this wasn't actually gameplay, this was just like, cutscenes or something. And it's like, yeah, but the way you made it seem. And so sometimes, E3 is not the best experience for certain platforms or certain releases. But overall, it's something that gets people interested in new products, new, franchises, just, any kind of game coming out. Oh, they, did you see Sony showed this thing, and it might not be out for another couple of years even, but like it's really interesting to, keep on my mind. That way, even if they don't really cover it that much going forward, 2 years later they release this game, you're like, oh yeah, I saw that video, 2 years ago. It was great. Like
yeah,
you saw something about it. You knew about it. It's on
yeah,
everyone's minds, even if it's in the back of your mind. It's somewhere. So
yeah.
yeah,
Well, maybe it is just a rumor. Maybe it will come back next year. But there's one thing that I can say that is not um hype is Final Fantasy 16. I finally played it.
huh?
We were talking about this last time. I bought a 5. Finally uploaded the 5. Got the 5 hooked up and everything. Got my setup finally kind of like finished. And I played a little bit of the beginning of the story this morning. So when this episode comes out, the gaming video will already be out. So go watch me play a little bit of Final Fantasy 16, and actually go watch us play some other things too on the gaming channel. but
Yeah.
but the hype is real, man. The game itself is really graphically, cinematically is amazing.
Yeah.
It definitely. I read an article where they were saying like, is these games really showing the like really the hardware that are in these new consoles? And I can say, yeah. I only have a 1440p monitor, but for me, just having a 1440, it looks like 4K. I really don't see much of a difference between 4K and 1440. To be honest with me, and cinematically, it looks like a really high res anime. It's crazy. Even in gameplay mode, like you always have the high res cinematic trailers and like cinematic like story, but like it's so seamless when it goes into like battle sequences or like when you actually go to like move the character, that it's so clear and so crisp that I was just like the whole time I'm just like, what the hell am I playing right now?
That, and I've seen that in a couple games. That is something that I enjoy so much. I never think about it until like I'm playing the game again, and it's almost one of those things where it's not exactly, but like it's almost as if I wasn't paying attention, I wouldn't realize the cutscene just ended. And I'm just like, my
Yeah,
character's just standing there. I'm like, what is he doing? Why is he just standing there? You're like, oh wait, it's time to play. It's
yeah,
maybe not to that level yet, but it's just like the transition just being so much like from that cutscene to the gameplay that you're like, you know, that just goes to show that the graphics in the game itself are already pretty great. That
yeah,
compared to like the actual graphic cutscenes, it is that seamless transition. You're like, wow, but
yeah,
I'm gonna say this too. You said, for people to go and check out the video of you playing it. I'm probably be one of the first people on there checking you play that, because like I am interested, and
yeah.
I haven't really looked up any gameplay yet. So I'm probably gonna be checking that out when that
Yeah,
when that
because
drops.
I know you're very interested in the Final Fantasy series, like Final Fantasy, like how they create things. Uh, I'm giving Square Enix this props. I played all their games, and by far, this is probably the best story they have created so far. I'm liking it because okay, so the things that we've gotten in like storylines these days, I'm going with shows. So like we got epic plot twists with like Last of Us or Game of Thrones and or like House of the Dragon and stuff like that. This game is almost as good as like Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. Like plot twisty. And I've only played maybe an hour or two so far. And like I've already had emotional attachment to some characters and some characters didn't make it and I'm like, holy crap. And like I don't know what the rating for this game is. Let me look up the rating for the game because for what I saw in the game, it definitely might have a mature rating. Fantasy 16.
I mean, and to go off of what you were just saying, I would imagine a franchise that's been around as long as they have, and the amount of games that they have, a plot line like this could have been in development for a while. It's possible they only started writing the plot line for it like a year or so before they started making the game, but it's possible someone had been working on this plot line for like years, just
Yeah.
kind of like idea, like toying with it and stuff, and then coming up with a really great plot line. But to hear you say that too, like out of all the games you've played, because I know you're really into Final Fantasy, like to hear that this is one of the best like plot lines you've seen in one of their games too, like it's definitely a draw for me.
Yeah. So it already has a 4.2 star rating. So it's definitely getting really good reviews. IGN gives it a 9 out of 10. But the overall physical rating of the game, I think it's debatable right now if it's going to get a mature rating. Because there's a lot of death, a lot of like blood. Like you see blood, a lot of blood.
Okay.
I don't know if that can like makes it an R rating. But of how people die in this, like people getting their throats cut and stuff like that.
Wow.
And you see it happen.
I was gonna say, from all the games that I've played or like videos I've seen from Final Fantasy games, I would not expect that. I would expect if like someone's getting their throat cut, like you just said, it would be like you see the knife go up to their throat and then like it just pans away from what happens and you hear it or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I would expect. But wow. Right. Okay.
Yeah. You see people getting impaled with swords and stuff like that. So
wow.
It's pretty intense. It's pretty intense game.
Okay.
But I know that you were really looking forward to because you were like debating on playing because you have a PS5. But
that's what I was gonna say too. I didn't really have. I had a PlayStation 2. We had a PlayStation 1, but PlayStation 2 was the only really like Sony console that I played, and so I had a little bit of Final Fantasy gameplay there, but since then, not really. And so now that I have the 5, I've been thinking about it, so I might have to.
Yeah, and the battle style is awesome. It is amazing. It's not really. There's no spoilers really to this. But yeah, a lot of people were saying how we were talking about how like people want turn based and stuff like that, but this definitely isn't a game I would say turn based is for. Because I love the whole interactive. It keeps me more busy, especially with me having like ADHD. My mind can focus on things a little bit better. The dodging sequence is amazing. The overall attacking and parrying is amazing. You get the main character has a special like magic ability, but there's no MP that drains, so you kind of can spam that but it also seamlessly you like as you attack, you can have certain combos while using this magic ability at the same time, which is amazing to me because it just shows the capability of like what they're trying to do, and which makes it more fun because there's nothing like less fun than when you have a stamina bar and when you have an MP bar as well.
I was gonna say, even like I'm a huge fan of Dark Souls. I played Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, played Elden Ring. I have not played Bloodborne, played Sekiro, but like just the whole like mana bar essentially, and then like your stamina and stuff, like it's part of the game. I accept it. You can make a stamina build where you're just constantly rolling around and stuff, but like it does get to a point if they balance out, like you said, like almost kind of like balance out that magic ability. There's no point in just spamming the magic ability a million times because you're like, it's way better than everything else. It's like it's kind of like one of your attacks.
Yeah.
So like not having a mana bar but having it balanced is great in Dark Souls, it can be like an overwhelming attack, and then that's why you can't just do it forever because
Yeah.
you got a set amount of mana or whatever. So that's good.
Yeah, and like how you're saying they balance it because like the overall the enemies are a little bit stronger. So when you go to use your magic ability, it's one of your least powerful attacks. So but like adding it on top of your main
Right.
attack,
Okay.
giving that combination
I was gonna
makes
say
it
it's like the
well
kind of
balanced.
combo move thing where like
Hmm.
it might not do a lot on its own, or like the regular physical hit might not do as much, but like when you do things together, you like add things in while you're attacking, it ends up being much more effective. That's good to hear. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. So like story so far amazing. I want to commend the writer, who created this story. He did a really well job of making it. It was very confusing at first, but every game's really confusing when the first like 15, maybe first hour or something in
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I mean, especially if they're trying to make it a deep and like emotional, or even just like an impactful storyline. You're never
Yeah,
just gonna start off with like, oh, I feel no attachment to this at all, or like I understand everything, because they want to draw you in. So like they kind of have to front load a little bit of storyline, a little bit of something, and you might get a little confused, but then by like I don't know, a third of the way, at least a quarter of the way into the game, you're like invested.
yeah,
You're whether you think you are or not, you're like, oh, I don't really care about this story, and then someone dies, and you're like, what? Why did they kill that guy off? You're like, you are
yeah,
invested. So
yeah.
yeah, that's good to hear.
So the story's great. The graphics are great. The overall fighting style is amazing. Uh, I'm giving if it was a 9, if it was a out of a 10 rating, I'm giving it a 9 as well. I think it's rated really well. There's not much. I don't really know what I can really give a game to be a rate 10.
Yeah,
To be fair, um, so I'm not gonna give it a perfect score, but it is high up there. It's an
it's got to be
amazing
like
game.
the ET game for the Game Boy Color or whatever it was. It was a 10 out of 10. Like
ET
the
game?
worst. It was the worst rated
Oh, for
game
the
of all
Nintendo?
time.
Was
Yeah,
it in like Nintendo or something?
yeah. There was like an entire shipping container found in the ocean filled with like boxes of that game because they didn't know how to get rid of them because they made too many and nobody liked it. If you've never heard of this, you got to go look this up because it's just the funniest thing that they made an ET video game thinking people would love it, and like just had a horrible storyline, nothing related to the game. It was just
Wasn't there like
horrible.
no storyline at all? It was
Yeah, it was
just
just
ET roaming
yeah,
around the
yeah,
woods.
yeah. You're just roaming around the woods as ET, and it like didn't make any sense, and so nobody bought it.
Yeah, I think I've seen
So
videos of it. It looks trash. I
10
mean,
out of
granted,
10.
10 out of 10 for being trash. Yeah.
Oh man.
So, guys, go show Square Enix some love. If you have a PlayStation 5, go buy this
Yeah,
game.
especially if
Go
you've
play
been
it.
on the fence, and you're thinking about buying it, just go hit up the nerdy gaming or the nerdy mind gaming and watch Shane play some, because
Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna do, and then that'll probably convince me to buy it. So
Yeah. Yeah, so go watch me play. And go buy it yourself if you enjoy it. I don't know if they're later on the road they're gonna like bring it to more consoles. Square Enix has always kind of kept it tight to the vest with Sony. They
I
have
will
a
say, just in the general way things have gone in the past and like more recently too, it's possible games like this will come to PC at some point, just
Mhm.
because they kind of feel like it, not maybe branching it out to like Xbox, their like main competitor, even though Microsoft kind of runs PC gaming as well. Like
Yeah.
it's not really on the Xbox game store, it'd be on Steam or something. And so it might pop up
Yeah.
there in the future. Cause I know like the Spider-Man games that came out for PlayStation came out on the PC and stuff. So it's possible, but for the time being, definitely just going to be PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah, so like it says, unfortunately, no Final Fantasy 16 is designed for PS5, not Xbox Series X/S. Many Final Fantasy games are available on Xbox One, which then be played on Xbox S. So it's not coming to Xbox. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They only made it for PlayStation 5. But it has not been released for PC as of yet. So you're right. It probably will come out on PC.
It probably will. I just feel like even just the way that they design games nowadays, even if it's kind of more tailored to a console, PCs
Hmm.
just tend to be more capable of running all different types of things, with like
Yeah.
the VR, with all different types and styles of games. The software and stuff is usually, pretty compatible with PC, so I wouldn't be surprised if that, ends up being excuse my
I see
dog
it.
just
No, I see it
chilling in
down
the
there.
corner of my screen.
I was wondering what he was eating at first.
He's got a bone.
Yeah, so just give it some time, guys. If you're PC players, it will be coming to PC. I don't know when yet, but it just came out on PS4. I mean PS5. Sorry, so it might not be for a little bit. Um, you might be a little proud of me, Jason. I've been watching a lot of Marvel movies lately. Uh,
I like it. I like it.
after so with me having this nerdy podcast, I gotta branch out. I gotta have more content to talk about. Especially, I don't know much about the Marvel universe. I really don't. And I'm not hating anymore. I can't hate anymore. I kind of like them all. Like I said, I've told you, I love X-Men. I love Spider-Man. And I kind of just want to know more about the overall Marvel universe. If I kind of want to if I want to get into more Spider-Man and stuff like that.
Right.
But after the Flash movie, I kind of had like this epiphany. It kind of let me down a lot. I know it's the old style of the DC EU, and now the DCU is coming to fruition soon with the Superman movie and stuff like that. But like, I can't wait that long. I kind of want more content, more superhero stuff to talk about, and I've been binge watching a lot of Marvel movies. So I started off on Disney Plus. They kind of have it layered pretty well, where they say like, "Hey, this is Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, and 4, so on and so on." So I started out watching Iron Man 1, and then so on and so on. So right now I'm on the first Avengers movie. Um,
Gotcha.
and I can honestly see the appeal of
Right.
the Marvel stuff. The
So
story.
before we get too far down this road of like DC versus Marvel kind of thing, what I will say is I think the smart move here for people is just be team nerd. Just
Yeah,
appreciate whatever comes out for whatever. Especially just coming from this podcast too, just talking about all things nerdy. Like yes, I might like Marvel more than DC, just based on the movies and stuff more so recently. Because like the comics, if you gave me both comics as a kid, I'd love both. I wouldn't
yeah,
really say I hate DC. I love Marvel. I wouldn't. I would just be like, no. I mean, like Superman, Batman. Like I love Batman. I love
yeah,
Deadpool. Like like I love Iron Man. I love Captain America. Like it just kind of like in my mind would be like, yes, these are two different types of comics, two different companies. So I'm not going to see, you know, Batman teaming up with Iron Man. Like it just won't work, even though they're
yeah.
basically like, kind of like
The
the same character from
same character.
from both franchises. Like
Yeah,
it won't work that way. But like I appreciate both, and so
yeah,
like you said, with kind of like the way the movies have been for DC recently versus a lot of the Marvel movies, it is kind of cool to be able to see the different, kind of groupings of the Marvel movies, and like even just wanting to watch them from start to end in order of how they released or in order of how they went timeline wise and stuff. It's interesting. It is
yeah,
more immersive.
yeah. And I can honestly, with DC's Elseworld stuff, like they're called Elseworlds now. Like the Batman, Chris Pattinson's Batman.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It can't be touched. Um, but I've been watching a lot of the Marvel stuff, and it's very interesting watching it, and then like getting into the mindset on what they did. Especially for phase 1 through 3. I'm not up to 3 yet, but I'm still in phase 1 right now. I'm about to finish phase 1. But like seeing the planning that really went into it,
Yeah.
like it's crazy
Right. And
to
and
me.
as someone who was a fan of it the whole time and just kind of watching them as they came out in the theaters and stuff, it's like you do have a little bit of like a, oh wow, they definitely did plan that 2 movies ago or whatever. But it's not really until the end that you start looking back, after seeing all the different phases, looking back and being like, they really were planning a lot of this stuff way back when, or like just from the first movies, they were thinking ahead on like, how can we branch this off? How can we continue this? How can we tie other things in? They might not have known what they were going to do at the time, but they did a good job tying things in as they went along, so yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm a fan, and I don't understand when people say they hate Marvel. I'm not gonna say like I love everything DC. I love most things DC. I love most things Marvel. There's always something on both sides that kind of like, not a big fan. But I don't know. I can't understand why someone would hate one side or the other. They're both just good.
Well, yeah, I think it's just like that everyone wants to be in a camp, you know.
Yeah.
If like I've always not really been in a camp.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like both. So like Xbox, PlayStation, and all that. I always had both because my cousins had one and I had the other, so I got to play both. I never really had a camp to be in.
Because it's just like, even like that, like PlayStation and Xbox. It's like, who's gonna be like, I hate Xbox, and like, I've played Halo. Halo sucks. It's like,
Yeah,
Halo's pretty good. Maybe the one that you
yeah,
played wasn't great, but like, you can't just
yeah,
decide that like a franchise from one side that's an exclusive is just terrible. Like, yeah, I played God of War. It's garbage. It's like, no, it's
yeah,
not. Like, what? Like, like,
yeah.
I don't have a PlayStation, so it sucks that I can't play these games all the time. So maybe I don't like them because I've never played them. But like, once you've played on both consoles, it's like you might prefer one, but there's no way you're like, that one's garbage.
Yeah,
I don't
and my
get
cousin, yeah, my cousin and I were talking about this the other day, where we're like, it's weird being like adults with adult money now, to where we can have all the consoles now,
Yeah.
instead of like where we had to like ask for one when we were a kid,
You had to
'cause
either save up, you got to beg your parents, do something to get one of them, and then that's the one you had.
yeah. So it's weird having all of them now, and like, so we get to play all the exclusives for each console, and so it's pretty weird. So like having this whole camp thing where people were like, I hate Marvel or I hate DC, and like, or I hate Xbox, I hate PlayStation. It's kind of like you're limiting yourself. You're limiting
Yeah.
yourself from having a full nerd experience.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. I'm at Team Nerd right now.
Oh yeah.
To where like I just want to have full experience. So I've been going through a lot of the Marvel Universe stuff. I'm really excited to like finish Avengers 1, the first Avengers, and then going on to Phase 2. Because I do remember Phase 1 and I do remember a little bit of Phase 2, but I remember falling off on Phase 2. So I'm really interested to get back into it and kind of finish the storyline. Because I actually have never seen Phase 3 or anything before. And a lot of my friends who are like Marvel people, they're like, how could you not finish like watch Endgame and stuff like that? I'm like, I don't know. Like,
life gets in the way. There's times where you're like, oh, the next movie came out, and it's like, maybe you saw Phase 1 and part of Phase 2, and you're like, I'm a fan of Iron Man. It's great. The Captain America movie was like so for me, and then like the next movie that's coming out is Captain America based, and you're like, like, I don't know if I want to go see that in theaters right now. I got a lot of stuff I got to do. Work is, tough or whatever right now. And then you don't watch that one. And then the next movie comes out and you're like, well, I should probably watch the Captain America one too. And so maybe I won't watch that one. And then you just kind of end up falling off for a while. But like you said, you give another chance, you start watching them. Now it's binge time, kind of, And
yeah.
A lot of people love binging shows, binging movies, and so it's just you
Yeah.
got access to all of them now. So
yeah, I mean, with Disney Plus, I have access to everything. I mean, that was like when Game of Thrones first came out on HBO, right?
Yeah.
I didn't watch it on HBO. One, I didn't have HBO.
Yeah,
I wasn't paying for it, but now I have Max. Well, it was HBO Max. Now it's just Max. But I watched Game of Thrones when it came out on HBO Max. So I was late to the game, way late to the game.
I was gonna say I was watching it as it came out on TV. Sometimes, like I'd miss some episodes. I think I started behind people and had to catch up. I didn't have HBO, and so like I think my wife, back when I was dating her in college, through the university, because she was an RA, she had like some HBO subscription thing for free or something, and so found out it was on there and we started watching it. But like, yeah, no, I mean, it definitely becomes a very enjoyable experience when you can just like not be waiting for the next episode, not thinking, what's gonna happen? They left on a
Yeah.
cliffhanger. You're like, oh my gosh, that was so cool. Okay, next episode. Like you just, like there's no wait time. So yeah,
There's it just comes with the times now where I'm just spoiled because you can just like
yeah,
absorb content so
yep.
much easier now that like I even hate when seasons of anything that get hooked on leave on cliffhangers and you gotta wait
Yeah,
almost a year or
yeah.
so for it to come back out again.
It's like The
Like I
Witcher
think
just started running
yeah,
again.
right.
Yep. Mhm.
I think even you guys are watching You now.
Yeah, we got into it,
So
but yeah.
the wife and I got into You when it was like the first season, and like having the cliffhangers for that show, it was making us mad. Stuff like that.
I can't even imagine like the like cuz we have all the episodes. We're still catching up on it, but like I can't imagine when you go from season 1 to season 2 just being like that's it? Like what
Yeah,
happens next? Like we just were able to skip right ahead and it's like, "Oh, now, now he's here now and like this amount of time has passed." It's like, "Okay, cool, cool, cool." Like, but not knowing if it's going to be like next season starts immediately like day 2, like after this happened and in reality it's like 5 years later or something or whatever and you're just like, it's like a year or whatever, but it's like, I didn't expect that. Okay, what's going to happen now? Oh, there's somewhere else, and so in the era of binging content, it's hard for people to have to wait.
yeah. I mean, with Witcher being out, you and I should probably binge it together.
My wife really loves The Witcher, so like we've been watching the
Uh
episodes as they come out. So
yeah.
we watched
I've been
we
holding
watched the
off.
first
I've been
one,
holding
and
off. I've been holding
uh,
off because I kind of want them all to kind of come out for me to watch it. Because again, it goes with that thing like they come out week to week, like they were on TV. But like I don't know. I love when waiting for it and me just get. I'm going to the next one. Going to the next one. Going to the next one. I
so
can't wait.
I will say, one of the podcasts that I listen to in my free time is like Stephen King based, called The Kingslingers. Just a little plug to them. Love them. But the premise was initially they had a different podcast about a series called Worm, and one of the guys on the podcast had read the whole thing, was super into it. The other guy never had, and they're both kind of book nerds. So the other guy would read, they'd read like section by section and like discuss, analyze it, whatever. One guy knew the storyline, the other guy didn't. And now with Stephen
Hmm.
King, the other guy was a really big Stephen King guy, and the guy who was, kind of leading the other one is now kind of reading stuff for the first time. So we could always just, when all the episodes of The Witcher come out, we'll start watching them together, and then I'll just pretend like I don't know what's happening, but I'll let you kind of be like, "Wow, I hope they like have this happen." I'm like, yeah, maybe. Just kind of like, oh yeah, it's a good idea, maybe, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Watch the
Um,
first half of them and then the second half of them for the next episode or something. Who
right,
knows?
right, right. Yeah, yeah, maybe. But yeah, so I'm really anticipating trying to work my way through Marvel right now. So you know, have you watched much of Phase 4 and Phase 4 stuff from Marvel?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's been a while. Like so, like I know when the TV shows and things were coming out for Loki and stuff. Like I wasn't as involved with the TV show things, and
Mm-hmm.
so when I started watching them, I was watching them a little bit late compared to other people, and then trying to think back to what happened last in the movies, it was like hard for me to kind of connect all the dots because again, life got in the way. There was a lot of stuff going on, and I just kind of wasn't focusing on Marvel for a little while. So I have, but I should probably go and rewatch some of the Marvel, like the Phase 4 stuff too. But
I've heard mixed reviews, honestly. I've heard some people they say that they love it. I've heard other people say they don't love it. So it's interesting. Yeah,
I was gonna say
honestly,
like
being
Thor Love and Thunder, I think was one of the big ones that was like kind of a really big mix. And like I think we've had these discussions before. Like I'm not super picky when it comes to like movies and shows. Like I'm watching it for a storyline. I'm interested, but I'm not like that was garbage. I
yeah,
hate it. I'm just like, oh, I mean, not what I expected. Maybe I hoped for more, but like it was interesting. It was a story.
yeah.
It was cool. There was some action scenes. I enjoyed it, but maybe I would have
Do,
enjoyed it more if it was XYZ.
yeah, I don't know why, but I feel like overwhelmed sometimes when with all this content. Honestly, there's so much. I feel like overloaded sometimes because there's so much stuff I want to watch, and I feel like I have no time to watch. Like I'm trying to watch the Marvel stuff. Then there's DC shows that are coming out or animated movies that I kind of want to stay up to date on because I love DC animated stuff. Um, you cannot tell me anyone. I will fight anyone. They cannot tell me that DC animated movies don't don't hit. They're not good because they are. They
See, I almost want to say like I really enjoy the animated DC stuff more than like some of the movies that came out for DC,
hmm
like the live action. Like I did enjoy a lot of the live action DC movies, but like I watched some of the ones on what was HBO Max, now is Max. The ones that are like very much comic style and like
yeah.
just the animated things, and they're like taking place in different universes and stuff, and it's like I was really drawn into a lot of that. Like Flashpoint was one of the ones. I think
hmm
there was like a period of like a week or something where I realized there was a whole bunch of these on HBO
Yeah.
Max, and I was like, I'm just gonna watch all of these, and I'd like watch one, and then I might watch like two in a day or something, and then like
Yeah.
just kind of just kept binging them. I was like, this is
Yeah.
great. I love this.
Yeah,
So,
so like you got Justice League Dark, you got Justice League War, there's all kinds of stuff that they have. So like I'm trying to watch those, then you got like Peacemaker, then you got like the other things that
yeah, I watched.
DC's coming out with.
Sure.
But then I'm trying to like catch up on a lot of anime stuff that's coming out, and I'm like I feel so stressed out. Like it's not like I have a timeline, which is
No,
weird, but I'm putting this timeline in my mind.
it's one of those things where like you might not be concerned with like I want to know this stuff as soon as it comes out. I don't want to be left out of the conversations, but at the same time it's like, with like The Witcher, let's say the entire season just posted, today. It's like you would want to watch it soon so that you can know what's going on. You're curious and knowing it's all available, and so like, oh, a whole new season of this anime you're watching came out. It's like, yeah, I want to watch it, but I want to watch this movie and I want to watch this things. Like it's not that the desire to view it, to take in the content is not there. It's just there's so many things to do that you
Yeah.
feel stressed because you're like, I want to watch it though. It's not that I don't want to watch it. It's just that there's so
Yeah.
many things to watch that I won't get around to it. And I hope that it doesn't take like a year for me to get around to it.
Yeah. And it's crazy too cuz like I have the podcast, then we have the gaming channel. So like I'm trying to play games for the gaming channel, and there's tons of games I want to play too. And I'm like, damn it, dude. I'm trying to like isolate time for everything. Then let
I'll
alone
just, I was say, I'll just realize when you start multitasking, you're like watching a movie while we're playing like Demonologist, and like some freaky thing jumps out at me, and I'm like screaming, and you're like, huh, what? And I'm like, what? How are you not? And I
or
just see you like looking this way the whole time. Like, are you even playing? You're like, oh yeah, huh? But yeah, I'm here. What?
I was
We're
gonna
in
say
the
like
house.
I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Well, you'll know when I'm distracted when I'm not the one screaming and crying. So guys, if you don't know, like if you haven't seen the episodes of the gaming channel, we were playing Phasmophobia, some Fall Guys and stuff like that. But we decided to up our scary game repertoire, our our abilities, and we moved on to this game called Demonologist. And the
And
whole premise.
I was gonna
Okay.
say, if for anybody who hasn't even heard of Phasmophobia, like if you ever seen like even just like an episode in passing of those ghost hunting shows where like
Yeah.
they're walking around, they're like, spirit, speak to us, and they've got like, oh, I saw this like little flash in the camera, and you're just like, is this real? Is it not? Like you're just kind of like, this is weird, or this is really interesting. That's essentially what Phasmophobia is. You're trying to figure out what the ghost is. You're seeing the ghost open doors and stuff. You're getting evidence. It's
Yeah.
it's scary because there's a ghost in the house and it can appear to you and whatever. But like, we thought it was scary, and then we
Yeah.
started playing Demonologist, which is the same game essentially, better graphics, jump scares, just more terrifying.
Literally, if you take Phasmophobia, which we've never played before, and I've seen people play, so I was really interested in playing it, and I was terrified. I was scared because like, let alone you get the sounds, you get like this, this 360 ability in your headphones.
Not to mention that like yes, you can be like the door opened, the candle blew out, but like you're just walking around and then you just like literally hear in your headphones as if it's right behind you, just like, I'm right behind you. And you're like, what the heck? It just sends chills up your spine because there's nothing there. And you're like, what just happened? It just, yeah.
If you want to experience that, listen to some of these videos on YouTube called the 3D Sound. essentially is like you put headphones on, you close your eyes in like a dark room. There's this one that I've listened to many times years ago where it's like you're in a interrogation room, right? So you're supposed to close your eyes like you have a blindfold on in a dark room, and pretty much what they do is they have a microphone for your left side and the microphone for your right side. So they're literally talking in the room to both microphones. So it gives you a full like immersible experience, like you're actually there. And there's this one part where the dude like whispers into the mic, and it like sends chills down your spine. And that's essentially what we're experiencing in these games, where like Jason will be in a room like trying to like lay down stuff to gather evidence, and I'm like in the kitchen seeing it fling things around, and then I'm like, "Where are you?" It's like, "I'm behind you," and I'm like, "Oh God, I'm out. I'm going to the truck. See ya."
Yeah.
So, and that's in Phasmophobia, where like the graphics are a little but you still get the full experience of like getting scared. So when I heard this game called Demonologist, well, Jason was talking to me about this game before, but we just started out in Phasmophobia. So I started looking at Demonologist more, and like I was like, hey, let's just try it. And the graphics were upgraded. It's the same game. It's an amazing looking game, but the horror part is like 100 times more. It's like upscale.
Like what I will say with Phasmophobia is that the lead up is so scary, because like there is a point in these games where there's a sanity level the whole game where like as the ghost does things around you, like appears and like moves things, like your sanity will drain. Once it gets under a certain threshold, the ghost will hunt you. Like it'll manifest itself and chase you around, and basically if it grabs you, it kills you. And so like now you're out of the game. And so in Demonologist, you're kind of expecting the same thing. You're like, okay, it's going to open doors. You're going to hear it speaking, like it might appear in the corner for a second or something.
Yeah.
And then like, I'm just walking around. We're like looking for evidence. And then suddenly loud screaming, and there's like a thing crawling on all fours at me. And I'm like, ah, ah, and then it disappears. And Shane doesn't even see it, because some of these things only appear to one person or the other. There was a time where we thought the ghost was in a certain room, and, we're just talking and stuff. And I hear, I'm right behind you. And I'm like, ooh, that was spooky. Let's go to the next room and find stuff. And Shane's just like, I'm out. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, it said, I'm going to kill you. 5, 4, 3, 2. And I was like, okay, that would make me run too, because I'm like, it's about to show up and kill me. But like, I didn't know that, because I heard something completely different.
Yeah, it's wild, because this is why, nothing against Phasmophobia, but I think the people who created Phasmophobia could take notes from Demonologist, is that like the ghost or spirit is playing mind games. No, let alone are we draining like our gaming sanity. I'm draining my physical sanity as well, because I'm hearing things that you're not hearing, or seeing things that you're not seeing, and you're saying vice versa. And it's playing the ultimate mind games with us, especially like when you saw the thing crawling all fours, and I'm just walking past it, and you're like, you didn't see that? I'm like, no. Or like, I'm seeing the whole hallway turn to bones, and like there's loud screaming in my ear, and I'm like, holy crap! And you're like, yeah, so let's go to this room. I'm like, no, dude, like what the hell was that?
Yep. There was a whole period of time in one of the games where there was like a little girl just like running, and like you'd hear like a loud noise. And she just run into the room and run past me. And I was like, what the heck? And then like, I leave the room to like turn the corner, and she appears again. I'm like, what the heck? And then Shane and I walk into the house, and he's just talking, and I just see her run across, and I'm like, oh, there's the little girl again. And Shane's like, oh my God. Like, 'cause he hasn't seen her. And I've seen her like 3 times. I'm like, hey, there's my girl,
Yeah,
how you doing?
Like, he's seen her like 18 times, and I'm like, and I like hear noises, and I hear him go, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "There's this little girl." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like just chilling around, and then like the minute I see her, I'm like, "What the hell is that?" He's like, "Oh, that's my friend." I'm like, "Oh, great."
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, and if you're not even if you're not into video games, if you check out the gaming channel just to see some of these hilarious reactions. It's just funny, because we're never expecting it. Like in Phasmophobia, we kind of knew what to expect. There were times when like, I'm like, oh, I think the ghost is in this room. And Shane's like, nope, no, it's not. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, it just killed me in the kitchen. And I'm like, oh,
Oh,
okay, I'm gonna get out of here. But like in
yeah,
this one, just like scary things just happening all the time in
yeah, all
random
the time.
ways. It's a lot of fun, but like it's a lot. It's just a lot of
So like
stress and stuff.
it's just like when I'm trying to say like the build up because like in like how you're saying in Phasmophobia, there's the build up where like it's throwing a cup or it turns off a
Yeah,
light and stuff like that.
yeah,
Where it's like okay, that's not as bad.
yeah.
We have time to still gather evidence and figure things out. Where in like Demonologist, we're on rush mode to figure out where it is, gather evidence because
That
we are being
yeah.
bombarded with stuff all
Yeah,
the
and
time.
the best way I can describe it too is like, and like I've heard this saying like this phrase before, but like my heart was in my throat. Like when that thing was crawling at me and there was like the loud, like almost screaming noise as it's crawling at me, I literally like I like stopped moving in the game and I was like, okay. But like I just felt like everything coming up
Yeah.
and I was just like terrified. In Phasmophobia, when like scary things are happening, I feel like when I was a kid and I'd flip off the light switch in the basement and run up the stairs really quick because I didn't want something to grab me. Like it's like
Yeah.
I know it's not real. I'm still kind of scared, but like I'm just gonna run up the stairs, and then I'll just go back to my day to day life. This one was
Yeah.
like I look down the stairs and a hand comes around the corner with big nails or something in real
Yeah.
life, and I'm like, I'm terrified. Like that's how I
Yeah.
felt. Like it was way different.
Yeah, and what was crazy? So, like, if when you go watch the video, so you might think like I'm overreacting in the video, and it's not acting. I'm not acting because
I'm a horrible
so what's
actor. That's 100% true. Like
yeah,
real.
like so my wife was wondering, like why am I so scared? So what's weird is that like so I had the master volume up in my headphones, and my headphones like were like the music is being played, and then I hear this like huge bass notes, like every bass note I'm hearing echoing in the house, and it's all like hitting my head, like my senses all together, where I feel immersed in this game.
The amount of detail into the sound that they put in, it's like if you were walking around your house at night and you just kind of stopped for a second and you just hear someone that sounds like they're sneaking around in your attic really slowly. Like you just hear
Exactly. Yeah.
creaking. Every so often you hear like a drip of water from like a faucet somewhere, and it's just like it just adds to the ambiance of like it makes you feel like you're there because these are little tiny sounds that you would hear in like an old abandoned house. So
Yeah.
like you're more immersed. Whereas if it's just quiet, you're like, okay, it's a game. Like there's nothing else. It's just waiting to hear a creak of a door. But like when you just hear noises that aren't relevant but are just around you, you're like, is someone walking around upstairs? And you're like, Shane,
Yeah.
are you upstairs? No, I'm in the kitchen. Okay, I thought I heard footsteps. Like that's kind of creepy. Like it's just like
Yeah.
little things like that. But I realized the first time we played, my master, I put the master volume down to like 70% or something because like I was hearing things really loud in the lobby, and I was like,
Hmm.
oh, it's probably just too high up. I wasn't hearing all the little detail, and he was
Yeah.
freaking out a lot. And so the next time we went to play, I was like, he was like, just put your master volume up. So I was playing solo, and I was like, okay, I'll put the master up and just see. I walked into the house, heard all these sounds, and turned around and walked out. I was like, I'm just gonna wait until you get on. I can't do this. That it was just
Yeah.
too scary, even without anything happening to me yet. I was like, no,
It's so
good.
wild. They definitely invested a lot of time in the
Yeah,
whole sound aspect of it, and honestly, that makes the experience of the game that much more.
yeah,
It's crazy. Not alone like just seeing the scary things, just having the sounds
yeah.
is what make because that's like I think we've talked about it before. Like in horror movies, like it isn't the sight for me, it's the sound that for
I have
me.
a buddy that has to kind of like close his eyes a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's like I just plug my ears, and then the movie is
Yeah.
tolerable. When I know
Yeah.
something's about to jump out, something scary,
Yeah.
I'll plug my ears. Creepiest freaking like terrifying thing could pop out of the corner and grab someone, and I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
this is fine. But like if I had like, if I was just listening to all the audio, I would jump because it's just like the sound that gets me.
Mm-hmm.
And so in
Yeah.
this game, just a lot of sound and detail to sound is just, it adds a lot to the experience.
Yeah, I'm always hypersensitive to sound. Even like when I'm working and stuff like that, I'm like hypersensitive to sound. Sometimes like wear earplugs. I've always been that way. So it's like this is where that game with the whole sound effects is what gets me going. That's what really gets me going. But yeah, so I think we can end it there, man.
Yeah.
So the new episodes of the podcast come out on Tuesdays, so go check out the podcast. If you want to watch the video versions, you go check out the Nerdy Mind on YouTube. Audio versions are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many others. And if you want, you can go to thenerdymind.com. It is a one-stop shop, essentially, for you to go see the video version, or you can have the hub for the podcast. You can see all the stream services that we're on. So you can go check it there. Also have a tab for the gaming channel. The gaming
Yeah, I was
channel.
gonna say that's probably a good place for people to go if they want to
Yep.
just check out some of those clips from the gaming channel too.
Yep. So I'll be uploading a lot of the partial clips to there. Social medias, go like, comment, subscribe. Go follow on TikTok, Instagram. I'm on both for each of the platforms. Gaming channel episode. The gaming videos come out on Saturdays and Sundays. So I've been uploading kind of games with both of us to playing together on Saturdays, and sometimes I kind of do a lot of solo stuff on Sundays. So go check out us playing some Demonologist, Fall Guys, Phasmophobia. If you just want to see us kind of jump into something horrible like that, or you can watch me play some Final Fantasy 16. I'm kind of jumping into that right now. And leave a comment on what games you would want us to play. We're always open to some suggestions. Leave comments on what games you would want me to play. And overall, just leave comments on how we're doing so far. If you find the content funny, if you find it overall enjoyable, let us know. I'm always looking forward to feedback. But Jason, thank you as always for coming on. And as always, guys, stay nerdy, my friends.